This episode is brought to you by HighSpots.com. HighSpots.com is the leading provider of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts merchandise. From wrestling boots to wrestling DVDs, wrestling action figures to title belts, HighSpots.com has the largest selection of wrestling merchandise. Go there right now with our link, tinyurl.com/STS HighSpots. STSHIGHSPOTS. Shop there with that link. It won't cost you any extra, but it will help support this podcast.
Hey, have you listened to episode 97 about Chokehold? Episode 95 about Ringside Reflector? Episode 79 with Jeff Zinger and the two-parter episode 70 and 71 with Steve Beverly about Matt Watch. Guys, if you like this episode, you'll like those episodes. Here's a clip from the Jeff Zinger episode talking about gag. Download, listen.
About now, Missy High, or did you do the Missy High Club or something like that? What was it? What did we do? I can't remember.
Well, you know, it's funny. I kept in touch with Missy for a couple of years. Not the kind of touch that I would really like to have with her. But I got the idea. This is after about the fourth issue of Gag. And the way I did it was everything I published was numbered. So, for example, I told people I could publish an issue of Gag as a blank piece of paper, and I would number it. So what did I do? I published a Gag that was a blank piece of paper. But with the Missy thing, the next trip, and I don't think you were on this, but we had gotten so long, everybody had gotten along so well in Memphis that a few months later we planned a Philadelphia trip. And it was for an NWA house show, but it was also for a Joel Goodhart luncheon. You know Joel Goodhart's name, I'm sure, and you may remember the luncheons.
Yes,
well, Missy was there and got chatting with her and stuff, and I came up with the idea. I always used to laugh at the old teen magazines that were kind of aimed towards girls, like Teen Machine, and probably the most famous one was Tiger Beat.
Right.
And I thought, I'm going to do a parody of one of those, but it's going to be based on Missy. So basically, I asked her permission to do it. She was like, no problem whatsoever. And so it was an 8-page thing. I got it professionally printed on pink paper, which I thought was
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's start the party.
In St. Louis, Missouri, this is episode 99. A big shout out and a thank you to Bob McGee, Pro Wrestling's Between the Sheets. That's www.pwbts.com. Locals to Legends, Gene Jackson, www.locals2legends.com. And Sean Garmer over at w2mnet.com. Thank you, guys. I can be reached at Comic Book Mark BT at Twitter, BT Shooting the Shiznit over there on Instagram. We got a new sponsor coming up for our merchandise, so we're going to wait before you guys, and I know all of you are going to want a t-shirt at the special low price we got coming up. You can contact me on PayPal.com by sending me some money. That's Brian_Trammell at yahoo.com. Guys, we're still looking for, no one's tweeted me, who's out there in Mountain View, California? What about Westbrook, Maine? You guys have really, in that area, been listening to a lot of Shooting the Shiznit, and we may even give you a prize there. You can listen to all the episodes over at www.stspod.club. You can, we always have a Shooting the Shiznit Facebook page. We also have Cool Kids Wrestling, an MMA Talk Facebook group. That's actually what started all this. And you guys can ask to come to that Facebook group, but if you start being an ass, we'll kick you out. Let's go. You can listen to us at iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, Pod Paradise, Spreaker, a little bit of everything. A big shout out to my buddies over at Suplex City Limits, Creative Control, Who's Right Podcast, P3 Radio, and just letting you know, Keeping It 100 Patreon site is only $1. That's right, I was on there for a roundtable with Disco Inferno, JoJo, Mike Holder, Michael Young, And Conan was even on there. But $1 a month to give you a bunch of extra stuff. And you guys, patreon.com/Conan. All right, let's get on. All right, we're going to break. Wait. I always bring on my guest right here, but wait just a second, guys. That's right. At the very end of this episode, after the guest leaves the studio, I want you to listen to my hint on who's going to be the biggest guest ever for the special 100th episode. Also, we will have a roundtable with JoJo Feeney, Lance Levine, Brian Thompson, and myself talking about the WWE Hall of Fame. No, really, we're getting to the show. He's been over there eating milk and cookies. It's John Gallagher. John Gallagher from the Wrestling Forum.
Well,
now, is it Gallagher?
I thought you were going to say the name of the town. Yeah, that's the way. Even if you mispronounce it, I'll still come for supper.
There you go. There and milk and cookies. You know, I mean, what the heck? I got milk and cookies over there.
You must have the sky cam on so you can see my belly that has grown since the last time you saw me, and I've gotten a little white in the beard too. So that milk and cookies, yeah.
Man, it's been years.
Good stuff, Maynard.
Years since I've actually talked to you on the phone, but we've seen some stuff in Cool Kids and talked to you. The main thing is we're doing a series on the old wrestling newsletters, and if that makes you. Old newsletters. I said that with Paul MacArthur, and I believe that's the best way to put it. You had the Wrestling Forum.
Old newsletters.
But before we go actually talking about the Wrestling Forum, I want to talk about you, Little John, as a fan. So when did you start being a fan, John?
Oh, gosh, that was way back in the 60s. Vern would have his program on our local station Saturday nights at 5 o'clock, and we'd sit around watching that, and every once in a while they'd come to Moline. That was about 50 miles from where I lived. And then the Peoria stations started carrying the programs also. Peoria was about 50 miles from where I lived. So we got both TV markets, and we got both wrestling programs. Bob Geigel's group is the one that came to Peoria more often, though. And they were actually the first live wrestling that I saw was a match in Peoria. Let's test my memory here, because this is going back to about fourth grade maybe. We had Earl Mr. Universe Maynard against Bob Brown. Joyce Grable was on the card. Betty Nicolai, I believe. I didn't pay a lot of attention to women wrestling back then. And the main event was the Viking, who had snow white hair and a white goatee and everything, and Earl Maynard against Geigel and Brown, and blood all over the place. I got blood on my tennis shoe because we had like second row seats, and I was just thrilled because I had blood on my shoe. That was a little weird back then.
Yeah, I remember I've got a picture of Joe LeDuc that bought at the gimmicks table for $1, and he bled in a match there in Blythe, Arkansas. I took blood from the ring and smeared it on his forehead, and that's one of my things I do still have in my collection and that I kept. So yeah, I understand the bleeding thing. So, I've asked this to almost everyone we bring on, old-time fans, but at what point did you say, hey, this is a work, or, it's just all – I always think I knew it was not on the up and up, but didn't know how it worked. Didn't really care to know at first, but did you just know right right at the very front, or what?
Oh, no. There were two incidents, really, that clued me in. The first one, like I explained to you, we lived in the middle of two different TV markets. And when Vern started putting his show on the Peoria channel, he was about 3 weeks behind Moline. And so I remember there was an incident once when Nick Bockwinkel and the rest of the Heenan family turned on Ray Stevens and beat the crap out of him in the ring. Well, that happened in Moline. Like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they came to Peoria, and Bockwinkel and Stevens were tag team partners. Oh, hey, wait a second. They beat him up. You never know what to watch the Peoria show. Well, it was behind. So they couldn't expose it by saying, oh, this has already happened. You're going to see it in a few weeks. They just pretended like it never happened, which, according to TV, it hadn't. Excuse me. So that was my first clue. The second clue that I had, they actually came to my hometown, which was Knoxville. And they were, Vern came in and said, okay, we'll split the money or however it is with the athletic club. And so, we need you guys to supply people to set up chairs and stuff like that. They put up the ring. We set up the ringside chairs. And we were sitting over in the bleachers just waiting on everything and talking. And in walks Ivan Koloff, the Russian bear, the guy who hates Americans, the guy who doesn't speak any English. And we're scared to death.
Right.
And he sees us sitting over there, and he obviously doesn't know where he's going. He's got there before anybody else. He's walked in the gym, and he's looking for the locker room. And he walks up to us and he says, hey, guys, how's it going? And we all kind of looked at each other, and they all looked at me because I guess I'm the most worldly of the bunch. And I don't know a lot of Russian, but I know, hey, guys, how's it going? Without a Russian accent, didn't sound very Russian to me. And as it turns out, Ivan was pretty ticked off that night because he was leaving the territory. And so Vern was having him do jobs to everybody. And for some reason, he just didn't care. And he kind of exposed it all to us right then. Didn't tell us the inner workings of it or anything like that. But we got enough of it that, this is not on the up and up. And while the other guys in the group went, oh, this is fake. Well, I'm not going to watch this. I was sitting there going, wow, this is cool. They do all that stuff in the ring. They punch each other. They kick each other. They make each other bleed. And it doesn't hurt. This is pretty cool. And then I started getting more involved in the storylines rather than the actual wrestling. And so that's basically how I became a fan.
Right. And then, what was the first newsletter was Observer your first newsletter that you got that kind of smartened you up, or was you?
No, I didn't know
else?
it. I had never seen Dave's newsletter. I'd never seen Matt Results. The way the forum started, if you remember the last Battle of Atlanta, Tommy Rich against Buzz Sawyer.
Right.
They pushed this thing forever. They didn't show it on TV. They didn't mention it on TV after that. We had no idea who won. And it kind of pissed me off because we'd sit there, invested all that time watching it, and because we didn't live in Atlanta, we couldn't go to the Omni to see it. I had no idea what had happened. Well, I worked for a company at that time whose home office was in Atlanta. And every Monday morning I had to call with sales figures. And I got a hold of a lady down there that answered the phone. She was a big wrestling fan, and she went to the Omni seemed like it was weekly. And she would tell me the results. And I thought, I'll bet there are a lot of people around the United States like me who would like to know those results, but there's no way to get them. I mean, the After magazines come out 6 weeks after something happens. They never mentioned it on TV. So I thought if I could put together this cheap newsletter and send it out to fans across the country, we'd tell them what was going on, and we'd include the other promotions as well. At that time, Norman Keatzer was writing a magazine called, I think it was Wrestling Review, or wrestling news.
Right, it was. Yeah, I remember Wrestle Review and Wrestling News, but yeah, I think it had everything was black and white in it, and there was just tons of news. I mean, tons of news from everywhere, and I always had was this the magazine that, like, if I got it on the Memphis gimmick table, it would have Memphis wrestlers on it? I think that's the way it worked.
That's it.
And then if it was in up north, it would have, it's like San Martino on it or something like that.
Exactly. He was out of Mankato, Minnesota, and he had a little blurb in there once that said that if you wanted to rent his mailing list, he'd rent it to you at a reasonable cost. And it was reasonable. He didn't charge hardly anything for it. He had probably 500 subscribers.
Right.
So I got that, and I just started sending out free copies to the people on that list, having never seen The Observer, having never seen Mat Results. And I was trying to keep the kayfabe. I was trying to let people know, okay, this happened, but we're not going to come right out and say it's worked.
Right.
And Dave just happened to be on the list that I sent some of my first copies to. And so Dave just turned around and sent an Observer back to me, and I went, whoa. And, like I said, I had no idea that you could say that, and I had no idea that any of them existed. I thought that I had an original idea, and found out that it was anything but original. So, and then that's kind of how the newsletter got started. And I would continue, and Dave put a plug in, which got me a whole bunch of subscribers. Bob Clausen, who did Mat Results, put in a plug, and again, a bunch of subscribers. Plus the Norm Keatzer stuff got me a bunch of subscribers. And so it all worked out that way. That's how it got started.
And
way
it
back
was
in '86, I believe.
That would be. Yeah, I've been out of high school for a year, and I remember for him. And you gotta help my memory here, but did you have the issue folded in half? Was that the way you did yours?
Yeah, and we were calling it a bulletin because I modeled it after a church bulletin.
Right.
And so it's like a little booklet thing.
It does. I never thought about it, but yeah, that was. I thought it was that format because mine was the little bitty fourth of a page that people couldn't and had to have a magnifying glass to read it. But you started out just by like a results bulletin with just results and stuff in it. You're one of the few bulletins. There is all kinds of databases that I actually can go to on the internet and search and get some kind of. Like an old issue of something, at least one. I was never able to find an issue of a wrestling forum. So you started.
Wade Keller contacted me a few years ago, and wanted to know if I would sign away the rights for him to publish it on his web. And I said, yeah, I don't care. Go ahead and do it. And I haven't heard anything back since then. The last I knew, he was going to do it, but I don't know whether he ever has or not.
Right. And you started out just mainly as news, just like, say the Observer or the Torch?
Yeah, it started off like the Observer, except where Dave just kind of ran his as stream of consciousness.
Yes.
Big story first, and then just kept typing until he got, to the end. I tried to organize mine into, okay, this is the WWF, this is the AWA, this is the NWA. And then we started getting correspondence for other areas. And eventually we had Memphis, we had the Dallas people, and then other people started joining. We started off with myself. We had one of my good friends who's a lawyer in Chicago, and he was writing every once in a while. We had the lady in Atlanta. She didn't stay along very long. But then we had other people joining our staff. And Ed Gurria jumped at the chance to be on the staff. And he was our legitimate wrestling journalist. I mean, he had written for the big magazines, and he actually had contacts with some of the bigger name wrestlers. And, could call him on the phone if he needed to. And so that was a big help. Sean Grandy, I wonder whatever happened to that kid, but he joined us as a 16-year-old. And he wrote a few opinion pieces, but he mainly ran a tournament. And like I say, then he went on to college and something about the Boston Celtics. I can't remember exactly what it is.
He does something. I think Sean thinks he's important now. No, Sean. Hey, man, let's take a quick commercial, and we'll be right back with John Gallagher.
80s Tees is the leading online retailer of officially licensed t-shirts, specializing in retro movie, music, TV show, video games, comic book, and cartoon t-shirts. 80s Tees has you covered. They have everything from G.I. Joe, Seinfeld, and Back to the Future, as well as 152 different classic wrestling shirts. Plus, free shipping on all orders over $50. Visit them now at our link, tinyurl.com/STS80stees. That's tinyurl.com/STS80STEES. Visiting them at our link will cost you nothing extra, but it will help support this podcast. Now, back to the show.
All right, we're back with John Gallagher. John, you were talking about getting different people and stories and stuff. There's a couple of features, and I kept trying to remember exactly what this was, but you had an article that I think made it famous, quote unquote, where a lot of people came to you, where there was a wrestler that was actually writing the article, but you never revealed who it was, right?
That's right. And I have kept that silent to this day because he's still alive. And as a matter of fact, I talked to him, I would say within the last 4 weeks or so, and asked him if it was all right to let people know who he was. And he said, no. Okay.
Now, what was it called? I can't remember what the name of the
A Week with the Fed is what that was called. And what it was back when the WWF, and I still can't get used to calling them WWE, but the WWF would come in and they would do 3 shows in one night, taped at a location, and then spread those out over the next 3 weeks. And they were always squash matches. They do some angles here and there, but for the most part, they were squash matches. And they would use local guys as the jobber. And this guy was one of the guys they used here in the Midwest. And, he was brought in, he got squashed, he got paid well, and then they took him with him on the road for maybe a week as they hit neighboring cities and whatnot that weren't TV tapings. And he continued to lose, but get paid well. And one of his biggest complaints was that in the promotion that he was working in, he was a mid-level star. But then when he went to work for the WWF, he got squashed. So how are the fans in his own promotion, going to see him now? And he said that it was a good experience, but it killed him in his own promotion because nobody would believe that he could, take on anybody now because Hulk Hogan had beaten him or King Kong Bundy had beaten him or, whoever.
Right.
And so I found that kind of interesting.
It made a lot of sense. I mean, there's a lot of the guys that would not be enhancement talent for that very reason, even though the money was real good. I even remember, to the very end, the enhancement guys going in, and they still do, but they do, they'll do guest spots where it's not really they're wrestling, they're being a medic or something like that. But it's always better money than you would make on most of the time that you would make on the indies. So that's the reason they done it. You had a section, I remember this. It was let me see, make sure I'm remembering the name of it. It was like wrestlers are people too, and everyone sent in something like if you met one of the wrestlers and they were really a dickhead, then you was able to say, hey, so and so was a dickhead, and this guy was really nice, but we were able, and you didn't even have to use your name, I don't think, if you didn't want to.
I preferred that they did, but a lot of people didn't. So I would confirm it, and you could tell whether somebody was faking a meeting or not. But you have to also remember this was during the heavy days of kayfabe. You know, the wrestlers were supposed to be in character all the time. And for them to slip out of character was completely unusual. You know, I saw a video on YouTube not long ago with Greg Gagne. And Greg Gagne was one of the last of the stalwarts about, you know, we will not break kayfabe. And here he is telling about how he used to work and, you know, who it was fun to work with. And so they're going, Greg, you've sold out. Oh, well.
Yeah, everyone's sold out by now, so that's just the way it is. It's funny when you get someone that actually is trying to work the fans. You get these fans these days get mad when they're getting worked. It's just hilarious. If someone's trying to be a heel, then they're pissed off because he's not supposed to say that, and I just crack up, you know, because he's working you guys. You also had a dipstick of. Was it you guys that did dipstick of the month? Am I remembering right? Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever get any pushback on doing that on somebody?
Oh, all the time. Every time we gave out the dipstick, I'd hear about it. And it was the last one that I did, or one of the last ones I did was that Chicago convention that turned out to be such a bad thing.
Right.
We awarded it to Alan Eppenstein, who had worked with me to get the AWA in. And it really hurt his feelings because he had worked so hard and he got screwed over as bad as we did. And so when I gave him the dipstick of the month, he felt really bad about it and let me know about it. And that's too bad because he and I had been good friends up to that point. And we never spoke again.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah, well, the rest of business is like that. It has sometimes it's one of those things where you have a friend for years, and then it's just something stupid, but then boom, you don't talk to them again. I've had many friends that I've lost through the wrestling business. Recently, someone that's been a friend forever. You mentioned that convention. I wasn't even going to talk about that, so you brought up bad things. I know that was a horrible thing for you, and if anyone's listening to this doesn't really know what we're talking about, I'll just make it real short. You did a convention in the Chicago area. Who you were supposed to get as your wrestling hadn't even booked an arena, and ended up Windy City? Is the Windy City's the ones that came through and helped you out?
Yeah,
right?
They came through and helped out. Sam DeCero just was tremendous. We basically put that convention together in about 12 hours.
Right.
Because
I remember
everything we had booked got canceled out. And that also cost me a bunch of friendships. And when we got home from that convention, I just said, I really don't care if I do this anymore. This was bad. Right. And I feel bad about the way that I treated Sam DeCero, and he was just a stand-up guy and made things right with us. We had been told in advance of the convention that the Saturday night show had been canceled. Well, Sam had booked a show the same night that ours was booked. Just prior to me being told that, I had talked to Alan Eppenstein and been assured that everything was go. So when I got word from the Illinois State Athletic Commission that the show had been canceled, that's DeCero's show, not ours. And that was a lesson I learned as a journalist. I went ahead and published it. DeCero's show is canceled. Whoops. Wrong show.
Right.
It was our show, and I screwed up, and it was very hard for me to eat some humble pie at that point, but it needed to be done. So.
Well, one of the fondest memories of, it seems I've got friends from that convention, and I was very close. I lived, an hour and 15 minutes. Actually, where the convention was, I think it was right at an hour. I lived and was able to attend the convention in Memphis. And it was one of those where you talked about kayfabe was, strong back then. It felt like kayfabe was, that we had brought in a new era or something, which we didn't. But everyone that was there at that con were really open with us, which was a big surprise.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of guys said they knew we were smart fans, and they were really open with us. And tell us because now Eddie and Missy and Paul, were they actually booked for the con, or did they just come to just hang out with us?
They called Paulie Dangerously, or Paul Heyman, or whatever you want to call him. He was a friend of Alan Eppenstein, and Alan helped us put that a lot of the names together. Paul E. called me one night and said, "Can I come to the convention?" I said, "Uh-huh." And he says, "Can I bring Eddie and Missy with me?" And I went, "Uh-huh." And so that's kind of the way it went. We already had Lou Thez booked for the show.
Right.
And Lou came in, and after I screwed up picking him up from the airport, which is probably one of the worst memories of my life, he was determined to keep it kayfabe. And he got there, and finally he said, "Oh, to hell with it." Opened up to us, and he didn't realize that Dave Meltzer was going to be there. He didn't realize that Al Costello was going to be there. And like I say, he just opened up, and it was one of the most fun. We did that press conference thing.
Right.
That was unplanned. We just put 5 guys up there at the front and let them talk and ask questions from the audience. And we could have sat there all night.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it was. And it was because we were it was because we all decided that we were all smart fans at the time. We knew everything about the business, and we just wanted that rub. We wanted those guys to tell us that what we knew was true instead of just Dave Meltzer saying it. You actually wanted to hear legends say, "Okay, it's a work." And that was just one of those cool moments. A lot of people from that convention are still friends today. I talked to Randy Smith probably once a week, and just guys that came to that convention. And Paul, I remember Paul and them not really just Paul kind of inviting himself, which is Paul. But I had met Paul a couple of months when he had first started in Memphis. He didn't know how the hell I knew what his name was, since I was in Blytheville, Arkansas, taking photographs. How I knew Paul Heyman, and so I'm at the con, your con, and I'm standing there, and he starts yelling across the room, "There's that son of a bitch right there. There he is right there." And I'm like trying to dig a hole and get in it. I'm thinking, well, I'm going to get heat with Paul Heyman. He comes over and grabs me, kisses me on the cheek, and says, "This son of a bitch knew who I was." And so that was him. I mean, that was Paul right there. And he did interviews on videotape. He did. And him and Missy and Eddie. Eddie was just a huge fan, and that's when I really knew that he was, and Paul was too, because Paul always did photograph books and stuff like that. But Eddie was just a huge fan, and I talked to Paul MacArthur, and he was talking about how popular Missy was with the smart fans, and I didn't mention this, but I think mainly it's because she was real intelligent about wrestling. She was hot, and we all liked her. But she was really she played this ditzy blonde, but she was pretty damn smart about the business.
Yeah, she was.
And that's why I think a lot of us really, really liked her. Okay, we don't got much time left, so I just want to do this. We quit doing the forum, and why did we quit? Was that because of the fiasco there in Chicago?
That was part of it. I had gone back to school full time. I had 2 years of college. I went back to Knox College to get my full degree, my bachelor's degree, which I did, and I found out that when you go to college full-time, especially a private liberal arts college, you don't have time to do much of anything else. And to support my family, I was having to work like 5 part-time jobs, plus go to school, plus have a family. I didn't have time for the forum.
Right.
And, I had a lot of people that got down on me because, that Gallagher guy ripped us off, because he closed up shop. I accepted subscriptions to the forum, which came out every 2 weeks. The most you could subscribe for at any one time was 6 months. So the most I was going to rip you off for was $18. Yeah, I really planned that out ahead.
Yeah. I had people say the same thing. You know, I quit, and the most I ever accepted was $3. So for 4 issues, and that's you always had. And there was the thing about it was, John, me and you were not the only ones that just dropped shop, because that's the way it happened. The fanzines start up, they accept a little, and then they just quit.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of damn work. It really was. And what was the number?
You know, Jeff Siegel and Steve Sims used to come down from Chicago all the time, help me put it together. Sean Grandy flew out from New York a couple of times to help me put things together. You know, it was a labor of love. We made a little bit of money at it, but not a whole bunch. But it's something that Sean always told me, if you ever quit doing this, it's going to bug you to death because you got it in your blood. It never did. I quit doing it, and it was like, wow, this has been lifted off my shoulders. Now I can concentrate on the task I've got at school.
Right.
So,
well, I did mine. I feel like mine. I felt that way for a while, and then I actually did a wrestling ride. It was based in the Memphis area, called a kayfabe website for 5 years down the line. And then, you know, when I quit that, I felt that lift that you're talking about. But then starting this, almost starting this a little over a year ago, I felt that urge to do something again. And that's the reason we do 30 minutes. And it's just, before we went on the air, you said, what are you going to ask me? Well, hell, I don't even know. I'm just, I hardly ever prepare. And it's funny because me and Lance Levine, we do one every other Thursday where there's some preparation, but I always tell Lance prepares more than me. I call it in the ring, and I tell you that's what I wanted. I want to bring a podcast. You talk for 30 minutes, and it's 2 old friends talking, or it's someone I haven't met, and we just sit here and talk the shiznit, as we'd say. Hey, man, it's been 30 minutes. I want to thank you, John Gallagher. I want to thank all the listeners. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was fun. Thank you to the sponsors. And same bat time, same bat channel. It's the best little wrestling podcast in the business.
To the Batmobile, Robin.
Love my mama. Thank you, John. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That was fun.